political battle inside the Philippine Senate has erupted once again, and this time the issue is no longer just about leadership. It is about trust, credibility, and the future direction of one of the country's most powerful institutions. Senator Kiko Pangilinan has openly challenged the current Senate majority led by Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano, saying he no longer believes the bloc can be trusted with the truth. His remarks came at a time when tensions inside the Senate are already running dangerously high, following the dramatic leadership shakeup that changed the balance of power inside the chamber only weeks ago. The situation has quickly become one of the most talked about political developments in the Philippines because what is happening inside the Senate could affect not only lawmakers, but also major national issues that the country is now facing. The conflict began after a surprise Senate reorganization removed Vicente Tito Soto III from the Senate presidency and installed Alan Peter Cayetano as the new Senate president. The move shocked many observers because it happened quickly and exposed deep divisions among senators. Cayetano secured the support of 13 senators during the leadership vote, giving him control of the Senate majority. But the transition immediately sparked speculation that powerful political forces were working behind the scenes to reshape the Senate for larger political objectives. Since then, rumors of instability have refused to disappear. Whispers of another possible leadership change started spreading almost immediately after Cayetano took over. Several senators reportedly became uncomfortable with the new arrangement, while others quietly explored the possibility of forming a new alliance. At the center of the growing resistance is Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Known for his outspoken political style, Pangilinan did not hold back as he questioned the credibility of the current majority coalition. For him, the issue is not simply about who sits as Senate president. It is about whether senators can still believe the promises, commitments, and statements coming from the leadership. The senator openly suggested that trust inside the Senate has been badly damaged. According to Pangilinan, the public deserves honesty and transparency from lawmakers, especially during a period of intense political uncertainty. But he believes the current majority has failed to provide that confidence. The remarks quickly intensified political tensions. Supporters of the Senate majority dismissed Pangilinan's criticism as political maneuvering, while opposition lawmakers argued that his concerns reflected what many senators were already privately discussing. Behind the scenes, political alliances inside the chamber appear more fragile than ever. Several lawmakers who initially sided with the majority have reportedly become uneasy over the direction of the Senate under Cayetano's leadership. Political observers say the atmosphere inside the chamber has become highly unpredictable, with every meeting and every public statement now carrying political meaning. Despite the controversy, Cayetano has insisted that his coalition remains solid. In one of his strongest public declarations, he confidently said, "Bua Young On," saying, the statement was meant to reassure the public that his 13-member bloc remains united and loyal. In Philippine political language, the word onsahan refers to betrayal or double-crossing. But not everyone is convinced. Critics believe the current Senate leadership is far less stable than it appears. Some lawmakers have already distanced themselves from the majority, while others continue holding discussions about possible alternatives. And one name has increasingly emerged in those conversations. Senator Gatchalian, Pangilinan, and several senators from the minority bloc have openly expressed support for Gatchalian as a possible alternative. Senate President, should another leadership battle happen. For many lawmakers, Gatchalian is viewed as someone capable of restoring stability and professionalism inside the chamber. His supporters believe he could bridge divisions between rival blocs and lower the political tension currently dominating Senate discussions. Pangilinan himself praised Gatchalian's ability to handle difficult legislative matters and described him as someone who can provide balanced leadership during a politically sensitive period. But the deeper issue goes beyond personalities. What is unfolding inside the Senate reflects a much larger political struggle happening across the Philippines. The country remains politically divided following years of intense rivalries between different political camps. The Senate has now become one of the main battlegrounds where those rivalries are playing out publicly. Questions surrounding Vice President Sara Duterte, impeachment rumors, shifting alliances, and future preside. Anti-L ambitions have all added pressure on lawmakers. Because of this, every leadership move inside the Senate is now being viewed through a political lens. Some analysts believe the original Senate reorganization that elevated Cayetano was connected to broader efforts to influence future political battles. Others argue the leadership change was simply part of normal Senate politics. But regardless of the explanation, the result has been the same: growing instability. Inside the Senate, trust appears to be eroding rapidly. Several senators have reportedly become cautious about revealing their political positions openly because alliances can shift almost overnight. Private caucuses, closed-door meetings, and political negotiations have become routine as lawmakers try to assess where power is moving. This atmosphere has only strengthened Pangilinan's criticism. For him, the biggest danger is not merely political competition. The real danger, he argues, is the possibility that the Senate could lose public trust if internal power struggles continue to overshadow its actual responsibilities. The Senate plays a critical role in shaping laws, reviewing national policies, conducting investigations, and providing checks and balances within government. But when leadership battles dominate headlines, many Filipinos begin questioning whether lawmakers are still focused on public service. That concern is now growing louder. Political observers say many citizens are becoming frustrated with the constant political maneuvering inside government institutions. Instead of seeing discussions centered on inflation, jobs, national security, or economic recovery, the public is witnessing senators battling for control, and that frustration may eventually carry political consequences. The instability inside the Senate is also creating uncertainty about future legislative priorities. Major national issues still require Senate attention, including budget discussions, economic legislation, and energy concerns and foreign policy matters involving tensions in the South China Sea. But political instability makes it harder for lawmakers to work together efficiently. Some senators fear that if leadership tensions continue escalating, the Senate could become increasingly divided and less effective in addressing urgent national concerns. Meanwhile, Cayetano continues projecting confidence publicly. The Senate president insists that work inside the chamber remains normal despite the controversy. He says committees continue functioning, bills are moving forward, and the Senate remains operational. Still, behind the scenes, uncertainty remains impossible to ignore. Rumors of another possible leadership challenge continue circulating almost daily. Political insiders claim senators are still carefully counting votes, evaluating loyalties, and preparing for possible scenarios if the majority weakens further. Even Cayetano himself appeared to acknowledge the fragile political climate when he admitted during one briefing that he was unsure whether his leadership was only beginning or already nearing its end. That statement captured the uncertainty surrounding the Senate perfectly. Right now, no one truly knows how long the current political alignment will last. For Pangilinan, however, the issue remains deeply connected to accountability and truth. The senator believes that public officials must earn trust through consistency, honesty, and transparency. And when political actions create confusion or suspicion, confidence in institutions begins to suffer. That is why his criticism has resonated strongly with many Filipinos who are already worried about political instability. Supporters of Pangilinan argue that the Senate must remain independent and credible regardless of political pressure. They believe lawmakers should prioritize democratic principles over personal alliances or political survival. On the other hand, supporters of Cayetano argue that leadership changes are a part of politics and that the Senate majority has every right to reorganize if it believes new leadership is necessary. But even among those defending the current leadership, there is recognition that tensions remain high. The coming weeks could become crucial for the future of the Senate. If the majority remains united, Cayetano may be able to stabilize his leadership and maintain control of the chamber. But if more senators begin distancing themselves from the bloc, another dramatic leadership confrontation could become unavoidable. And if that happens, the Senate may once again enter another period of political chaos. For now, the chamber remains divided between competing political visions, personal loyalties, and strategic calculations. Some senators are focused on maintaining the current majority structure. Others are quietly exploring alternatives. And a growing number appear to be waiting carefully before making their next move. Meanwhile, ordinary Filipinos continue watching closely. Many citizens are hoping the Senate can eventually move beyond internal conflicts and refocus on national priorities. The country continues facing economic pressures, regional security concerns, and political polarization. In times like these, stability inside government institutions becomes even more important. But stability cannot exist without trust. That is ultimately the message Pangilinan is trying to send. His criticism of the Senate majority is not only a challenge to Cayetano's leadership, it is also a warning about what happens when political institutions become consumed by power struggles instead of public accountability. Whether people agree with Pangilinan or not, his remarks have exposed the growing tension now defining Philippine politics. And as alliances continue shifting inside the Senate, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The battle for control of the chamber is far from over. The coming days may determine whether the Senate can restore unity and create edibility, or whether the country is heading toward another major political confrontation inside one of its most important democratic institutions.